vehicles to the takeout or the put in, but change that to take a bike. So we bike the shuttles rather than get in another car and share a car with somebody else that's not in our bubble. So that was a little different.
So are you ready to cycle across the country now, Andy?
Not quite.
Somebody did it in what? 97 days or something?
Yeah.
I've discovered stormwater ponds in subdivisions, which I thought were really kind of gross, but actually they have low trees and there's a lot of migrating birds in the spring. I saw birds I'd never seen before. The stormwater ponds have frozen and people are skating on them. And also the baseball diamond and soccer fields that have all been closed down because of COVID are great for cross-country skiing now that we finally got some snow. So I never expected that I would be thrilled about stormwater ponds.
That's a good example of connecting with nature differently this year.
Something else I noticed is the parks, at least in Minnesota, were a lot busier than they were normally. Parking lots were filled and cars were parked along the side of the road in cases. So I think a lot of other people are out enjoying nature as well.
That's why I think that the stormwater ponds have been great, because the parks, the conservation areas around, the parking lots are full. There's so many people around, but nobody's bothering with the local closed soccer and baseball fields and the stormwater ponds that catches the stormwater. So that's been it's just been a gift to me, let me tell you. I can walk over there in 10 minutes or drive with my cross-country skis in 3 and get outdoors, which has been keeping me sane. Thank you.
So anybody else have something to share?
Well, we were meant to canoe with the children and the grandchildren and do the Barren Lake circuit, which was unfortunately canceled. So we had to take our canoe, since we live in Toronto, to the shores of Lake Ontario and explore the Humber River as far as we could. And it was more interesting than I expected, because Lake Ontario can be extremely rough. So it was quite exciting on one excursion. But we also have explored the parks and the ravines and the Leslie Street Spit, everything around Toronto that you can possibly walk or bike. And it's been fun to explore them more closely than we would in the past. And we've discovered all sorts of trails off the official trails along those river valleys in Toronto. And we've got ourselves into some awkward situations occasionally, but needing to trespass to get out of the valley. But it's been, it's been fun too.
It's good to hear about new experiences that turn out positively.
Hi, Barry Cole here from Waterloo. At the beginning of the pandemic, my daughter and I set ourselves a challenge to walk a couple of trails from end to end. Often days we were the only people walking the trail, and we did the Avon Trail from Conestoga, Ontario, all the way to St. Mary's, and that's about 130 kilometers. And we did about 7 to 10 kilometers at a stretch. That was early in the spring and summer last year. Towards the end of the year, in the fall, we did the Pinnacle Trail of the Grand Valley Trail from Alton, Ontario, into Elora. And that was just wonderful, a wonderful experience to do those trails. Not something I would normally do. So, and we got a couple of badges as a result of it. You know, you do end to end, and you send in your story. The trail associations send you a little badge that you can sew on your hat. You know, so it's kind of nice.
You're an old pro at that now. You've got your badge.
Well, it was kind of a replacement thing in some sense from doing some of the larger trips, which we couldn't do as a group. To do a larger trip like the Des Moines or whatever, you need a whole bunch of folks to do that with, or an outfitter or whatever, and that just becomes difficult. So it was kind of a replacement thing. It was like, okay, well, what can I do to still feed the urge, but not contribute to the spread. So, yeah.
It's a good point. Logistically, things were scaled back, and maybe we did a lot more things with family in our family bubble instead of going farther and going with more people and more logistically complicated things.
I just stayed home and the nature came to me.
So Marilyn, that was one of my points too, was how much more armchair adventuring and nature did we do, in terms of, reading materials, but also maybe watching birds and things.
Well, I'm going to talk about the animals because I had deer that, ate my tomato plants, and we had coyote, fox, raccoon. Let me think if there's anything else. My favorite though was a small skunk that I first thought maybe was sick, but then I decided it was starving to death. So I went in the house and I got a raw egg because I thought, oh, I know they like to eat eggs. And I rolled the egg towards the skunk, and he never did try to spray anybody, but boy, he worked on that egg till he broke it and ate it. And then he was walking around quite smartly after that. Yeah.
Thanks, Marilyn, for sharing. It's good. Nature in the backyard. I'm quite guilty of being able to see fox and skunks and deer, etc. every day. Today, the highlight was a pileated woodpecker.
Beautiful, yeah.
So if anyone wants to chime in, just you can unmute yourself there and speak up. Ways that you connected with nature. I'm curious to know if people spent more or less time maybe in nature.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I was going to discovered a lot of trails. I tried to do as many trails in the city, and it was really, really fun. Found the East Don Parklands, and it's exquisite to watch these little streams and rivers still alive in the winter, and the ice formations and the ducks in the winter, it's just completely incredible. And then went to the Bracebridge Management Resource Center on the weekend, which if anybody gets a chance to go up there is incredibly gorgeous, and Hardy Trail in Muskoka. So just a lot of outings in the woods, hiking, and as many parks in Toronto as possible. It's been really exciting. A lot of my friends are also discovering a ton of trails, and it's just so wonderful just to have so much close by. Ontario was so rich with so much. I would just love to have more people my age to be able to go with. Like, I'm not a super quick person, but I mean, there's nothing more than I love love nature, and have the time to be exposed to it is just completely paradise. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. I think you've touched on some key points there. It's not about the speed, it's about being out there.
Another thing about that, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Another thing about that sort of playing fields area with the stormwater pond is that I like to go over there in the evening to get my walking in, and you get to see the sunset. Like, it's a big wide sky, which, I live in a suburban neighborhood and you just don't get to see the sky. But it's been so beautiful. Some nights on the east, you've got the full moon coming up, and the sun going down in the west, just because you've got this wide open playing fields park area, and it's beautiful. It's just I like to go at that time in the summer. It's been so hot. I would get up at the crack of dawn to go looking for birds. And the sunrise, you get the sunrise. And then now it's the sun going down at night is really beautiful. Even sometimes if the sky looks all cloudy, actually in the west, sometimes it opens up a bit. So you get to see some sunset. So these are things I would not have done before if it hadn't been for COVID.
Hi
That's a
there.
good example of unexpected benefit of an open area. Go ahead, Al. I think you wanted to speak.
Yeah, it's Al with the deep voice. Yeah, just wanted to say that this past year we only got out in the canoe once, and it was actually quite fabulous. That we were in a wetlands area, so you spent like the entire day just meandering in and out and seeing everything that was so beautiful there. And my husband says we went to the dark side. Instead, we kayaked this year. And we tried to get out like every week, and we had a very small group of 6 people who would get together, and with kayaks it was pretty easy. There, the repairs, you didn't have to worry about the shuttling, because we did mostly loop trips or out and back, and we just kept pushing further north and finding some neat places to go to. Made it to Superior once, but hopefully we'll get further away this year.
And where was that? Wetlands? Where was that?
We went to Beaver River Wetlands.
Beaver River. Where's that?
That's Highway 12 north of Toronto. And there's the Canadian Trail goes alongside of it as well.
It's near Kimberley, Ontario.
Okay.
Well, the town that we would pick it up at would be just outside Cannington, right?
I was just wondering, I saw a New York Times article talking about how people's pictures have changed. And I looked back at my photography from this year and compared it to the year before, and it was completely different. New York Times was also looking at how people's pictures moved from being about them and other people and really being less about them and more about what they were, where they were, like wherever they were walking or if they were traveling, even in their neighborhoods. I thought it would be really interesting if, I know this would be another layer of something that someone would have to organize, but if we ever do this online again, to have people submit one photo of something that happened or that they discovered this summer. It would be neat to see all these places you're talking about.
We got a suggestion for Alex, don't we? Yeah, it would be neat to do an academic research to mine the internet of photographs and use an algorithm to compare, pre and post COVID for what people were posting pictures of.
Yeah, I was just going to share. We are. I sort of live on near a place where the snow geese and the tundra swan wade in Pennsylvania before they move up north. So that's about 20 minutes from where I live. So we always, into February, early March, are over there several times, sometimes a couple times a week, seeing how many. And our peak about 10 years ago was 170,000. Last year was about 100,000 as they were transitioning north. But that's sort of nice. We also have the Susquehanna River we canoe on locally when we don't get to go farther. And there's some sort of like national wildlife places that protect the birds. And it's sort of like a wilderness area. They can hunt in certain times, like in September, but the rest of the year it's protected. That's some interesting places.
Another good find.
And canoeing in northern Pennsylvania too. a couple places, so Pine Creek and some other ones.
Great. Okay, thank you. I think we have about another minute before we're going to have to get back to the main session. Depending on your device, there should be a leave room button somewhere. On my screen, it's in the bottom right-hand corner. It's blue. So sometime in the next 45 seconds or so, if you click that, you'll leave this room. And what you want to do is you want to make sure you leave the room to go back to the main meeting.